It's the real news. I'm Aaron Mate. Saudi Arabia is locked in bitter feuds with Iran and Qatar, as it meanwhile wages a devastating war in neighboring Yemen. Well, Saudi Arabia has now added a new and unlikely foe, Canada. The Saudi kingdom has expelled the Canadian ambassador, is calling for the return of thousands of Saudi students who are studying in Canadian schools, and has frozen all new trade and investment deals with Ottawa. The kingdom says it's acting in response to Canada's government. Last week, Canada's foreign ministry criticized the arrest of two women's rights activists as part of an ongoing Saudi crackdown. Those detained include Samar Badawi, sister of imprisoned blogger Raif Badawi, whose wife lives in Canada and is a vocal campaigner for his freedom. On Monday, the Canadian Foreign Minister, Chrystia Freeland, said Canada stands by its criticism.
Yeah, we absolutely, with great assuredness, stand by what we have said. We will always speak up for human rights. We will always speak up for women's rights around the world.
The spat has gotten so heated that a pro-government Twitter account posted a tweet appearing to threaten Canada with a 9/11 style attack. The Saudi account shows a plane flying towards Toronto and its famed CN Tower with the words, "He who interferes with what doesn't concern him finds what doesn't please him." The tweet also suggests Canada is, quote, sticking one's nose where it doesn't belong. The tweet was soon deleted. Joining me to discuss all this is Ali Al-Ahmed, founder and director of the Institute for Gulf Affairs. Welcome, Ali. Can you explain, first of all, the context in which Canada's criticism took place, this ongoing crackdown on activists, including women's activists, at a time when supposedly the Saudi Arabian kingdom is said to be, by its supporters, undergoing reforms?
The Saudi government does not like to be criticized. And that is in part, or in large part, born from the decades of Western coddling. Let us, for example, look at last year when the United Kingdom rushed to the defense of Saudi Arabia against the United Nations investigation in war crime in Yemen. So the UK defended the Saudis, and we saw many statements from the UK officials saying that they trust Saudi Arabia will investigate the crimes that they commit, basically. So it's like trusting a rapist with investigating his own rape. And that gave the Saudis this behavior, British and Western behavior in general, who have coddled and protected the Saudis, is reflective in the poor human rights records in Saudi Arabia, and it gave the Saudis the belief that they can resist any criticism and can reject it violently. And this is exactly what happened with Canada. I don't think Canada was looking for a fight, but this is exactly what happened. And let's see if Canada will stand up, by its own statements. I hope they do, because it will be in their own national interest to do so. And this behavior, Saudi behavior, is typical. It's an absolute monarchy, and absolute monarchy will never give human rights to their citizens, and they will never accept responsibility or criticism. So, and that is, in addition, this is a reflection of the personality of Saudi de facto ruler Mohammed bin Salman, who is a bully, who is a violent person on the personal level with his own even family, mother, wife, and brother. So that is what we see today in the Saudi reaction.
That British government example you mentioned is interesting. I mean, you had the British government suppressing the publication of a report on the Saudi Arabian government's human rights abuses, so basically it could keep selling the Saudi government weapons. And sort of link that to what's happening now is interesting. I'm wondering, are you surprised, though, that Saudi Arabia took such a harsh action against Canada, a country with whom it has friendly ties? Canada has been selling Saudi Arabia billions of dollars worth of armored vehicles.
It is surprising, but at the same time, It could be not only a knee-jerk reaction, but also born out of necessity, because the Saudis want to please Mr. Trump. And Mr. Trump, I think in the calculus of the Saudi leaders, that if they have an issue with Canada, they are like Trump. Trump is having problems with the Canadian government at the moment with tariffs and trade issues, and they might have wanted to please Mr. Trump. And secondly, people don't talk about it, and I just published or wrote an article about it, hopefully to be published in the Canadian media, about the oil issue. And that is the Saudi king agreed to increase the oil output by 2 million barrels a day. That is very bad for Canada, which is the third country in the world with oil reserves. But the oil in Canada is mostly in oil sands, which is much more expensive to extract and produce than in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia spends less than $9 per barrel to get a barrel of oil, and the Canadians spend about $27 to $30, maybe more sometimes, to get a barrel of oil. So, and both they have similar markets. The Canadians target mostly United States market, and if the Saudis pump these 2 million barrels a day, it will devastate the oil industry in Canada, which is the number one employer, private employer in Canada.
So let me ask you about that tweet that has since been deleted, but it caused a huge uproar yesterday. So you have this pro-Saudi government Twitter account tweeting out a picture of a plane heading towards Toronto skyline. You see the heading towards the CN Tower, and the words, "He who interferes with what doesn't concern him finds what doesn't please him." Now, many obviously took that as basically the Saudi group threatening Canada with another 9/11, which has particular resonance since most of the 9/11 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. Do you think that is a correct interpretation?
Well, I just wanted to point to you, this is not a pro-government account. This is a government account. This account, I can confirm, and I will be hopefully publishing tomorrow a story with evidence. This is an account that is run by the royal court. So Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, this is his group, his internet group, and they run this account. The Saudi have one of the largest electronic army or bots on Twitter and Facebook and other social media. These armies, by the way, have been protected by, for example, by Twitter. Twitter did not does not suspend or limit these accounts who have been spreading, you name it, threats, violence, terrorism, hate, bigotry. So this account, Saudi Infographic, KSA, is controlled by Saudi employees of the royal court. And this goes under the so-called Saudi Cyber Authority, which is part of the Department of Media in the Saudi Royal Court, which has operations in the United States. They fund some organizations here, some think tanks, and they have working relationship with Twitter, Apple, and Facebook and YouTube. So this is not a pro-government. This is a government account and Twitter knows about it, by the way, because they gave it and verified the individual behind it. So I would ask Twitter if they really care about their own rules, is to come out with a statement saying who is the real owner of that account. I doubt that they will do, because they have been working, in fact, with the Saudis to limit dissent in the country.
All right, we'll leave it there and come back in part 2, where we'll talk about what Saudi Arabia is doing in Yemen. The AP has just revealed that the Saudi Arabian-led coalition has been paying off and even recruiting Al-Qaeda fighters in the Saudi-led battle against the Houthis. My guest is Al-Ahmed, founder and director of the Gulf Institute for Gulf Affairs. I'm Aaron Mate for The Real News.